It's not personal, Sonny. It's strictly business.
Searching for the unusual, the obscure, the forgotten treasures hidden deep within streaming media. This is the Deep Dive Podcast.
Plane in the sun!
Get below! Look out! Get below! Dive the boat! Dive the boat!
Take it down to 150 feet. Steer course 090.
Continue to dive.
Hello, divers. Welcome yet again to the Deep Dive Podcast, a never-ending quest to find the hidden gems and moist piles of garbage lurking below the surface of your favorite streaming media services. I'm Tom Feeney. How'd you like that? Was that good?
That was a good one.
I'm telling you. I'm getting into this method acting. I'm Tom Feeney, writer for Wang's Job Movie Magazine, available on Amazon.com. And joining me, as always, from a haunted Quonset hut deep in the New Hampshire wilderness, the Mandalorian herself. Hey, Manda.
Hey, that's me. I'm
you.
the Mandalorian.
You are the Mandalorian, especially now since we're between seasons. You get to be the only Mandalorian, which is good.
This is true. But, I was thinking about it, and October, so far away. It's really not. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, since time and space don't exist anymore, whatever, right? All we have is a calendar. True. All we have is a calendar to let us know what's going on. So I imagine that's what prison is like. You see all those TV shows and movies where they're just like scratching, into the wall, day 1, day 2. So that's kind of what it feels like a little bit.
Well, I have this friend on Instagram, and she makes sure that she posts every day. I think she's up to 138 days of lockdown now.
Oh.
Yeah. So, we're at least allowed to, within reason and safely go out if you need to for supplies. But, she's in full on, has not left her home. It's
really?
It's not advantageous for her to do so because one, she gets sick, and two, her working hours are the days that are the hours that they're allowed to go out safely. Yeah, rough. She lives in I think Spain, and they've got a pretty tight lockdown now.
Wow.
So yeah, I think they're allowed to go out from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. like a normal working day, but that's her working hours. So she finds that at 6:30 at night, she's just in her house all the time. And honestly, it's really tough for myself. Having anxiety in general kind of sucks, but living in your home is really tough right now, especially us who have this gorgeous summer weather.
Yes. But
I can't imagine being forcefully hey, no, you are not allowed to leave. She's literally in a bunker, except she can see the outside.
And when you can see that the outside is Spain, that must make it even worse because Spain is beautiful.
Yeah, so. Gorgeous. Yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah, but in happier news, the planet is not suffering as much. So that's great.
Yeah, the animals are reclaiming, the surface of the earth. So hey, we got that to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Except for when we go back and we kill everything again.
Yeah. So who knows? It's a catch-22.
Yeah.
Poor animals. they get a break. The poor animals get a break, and then it's the humans are back. Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm just I'm trying not to look forward to anything at this point.
Oh my gosh, we were just talking, but I have a vacation booked, a period of vacation, because when I started my job, they were like, hey, to make it easy for everybody, just book in advance. Now, typically, that's not something I think I'm used to, at least in the American workforce.
Mm-hmm.
My husband, on the other hand, he is English, and when he worked in England, they would have to book it out literally at the beginning of the fiscal year, right? So a year in advance.
Wow.
So my employer was like, yeah, book it out and, whatever. So I booked this vacation in January thinking, I can't wait for August to come around. And yeah. So now our goal is to sort of, if we can, and I'm sure everyone's trying to, but find these sort of remote and not so populated little nooks on a beach somewhere, because I need the beach in my life. And in fact, that's going to tie very heavily into my pick for this episode, but just,
excellent.
I need the beach. Need the beach.
You know, I understand that that there's an island that's not being used that used to be owned by some guy named Jeffrey Epstein. So, you know, I think that's free.
And there goes literally all of our subscribers.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the final episode. No. But our episode today, interestingly enough, our topic was suggested by one of our listeners. Her name is Stephanie Ferrand, and she's from the Lone Star State, a.k.a. Texas. Stephanie suggested that we pick movies that have made something of a personal impact on our lives. And we greatly appreciate the suggestion, Stephanie, and we hope you, your friends, and family are staying safe during, as the commercials say, these uncertain times.
That phrase is just, not that it's overdone, because of course it is, but it brings such terror to me now. When I hear it, I just think, oh, please don't remind me. I am living it. I don't need any reminders of how crazy this world is right now. You know, something that defined my generation was 9/11. I think what's going to define my younger brother's generation is coronavirus.
That's very possible.
So, yes, I mean, yes. Anyways, thank you for the suggestion. It's really cool that we have folks who are writing in or contacting us on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, and because we love doing these episodes, but it's just so cool that people are sending in their suggestions on things that they want to hear, because it kind of gives a whole new, like, I don't know, an oomph behind our work ethic, as it were, like, meaning we actually do something.
Yeah, and you know, if you're listening to this and you're enjoying this and you want to be like Stephanie, and by golly, you certainly do.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
How would you contact us, Amanda?
Well, you could do a number of ways. I think the easiest way would probably go to our website, thedeepdivepodcast.com. There you'll find links for our email, our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook, and, funny enough, a plethora of all of our old episodes. In fact, I think every episode is on there.
Oh, nope, not everyone.
Oh, yes, it's that one that it's the one that we don't talk about.
Yes, and guess what? We're talking about it today because it has something to do with one of my picks.
Oh, no kidding.
So we're gonna go talk about this. We're gonna tell that story today.
Oh, God,
that's gonna be
funny.
fun. That's gonna be fun.
That was so long ago, too.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago now. In the before times, you know. Oh boy! All right, so let's get this underway. Shall I go first?
Yeah, why not?
All right, here we go. Now, as an impressionable youth during the 1970s. That far back, yes, I am old. I was fascinated with things like UFOs, the Bermuda Triangle, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, the 70s itself was a time where people were really starting to explore the more kind of esoteric fringes of culture. There was more interest in the paranormal, religious cults, crop circles, things like that. That really started becoming like a thing in the 70s. Now, I was living in the boring suburbs, so I found that kind of stuff endlessly fascinating and just literally worlds away from what I saw outside my window. I hadn't built, any critical thinking skills, so I had no idea what was true and what wasn't. I would, you put a premise in front of me, I'm buying into it. It's like, okay, lay it on me. Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster got married and had kids. I'll buy into that. You just, you just tell me what happened, show me a picture and I'm in. Now that brings me to my first pick. In 1978, my mother dropped me off at the local downtown movie theater. This was a decaying old Art Deco palace that was built in 1928. So 50 years later, it had crumbling walls, broken seats, and a massive glass chandelier that I was certain was going to fall on my head one day and kill me.
Oh, but that must have been so cool inside.
It was cool inside. In fact, the year after, 1979, they tore it down, which kind of stunk.
Oh, what a bummer.
I know. They did save that chandelier. I hear it is now sitting in a theater somewhere in the Midwest. So, hey, at least that got salvaged.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was at this very theater where I saw a movie that freaked me out and still holds a fascination for me to this day. And that movie is called Beyond and Back.
May 10th, 1975. Dan Wilson was about to enter a realm from which very few persons have ever returned. He was about to die. Though pronounced clinically dead, Wilson miraculously recovered and was able to tell about the experience. Someday, like Dan Wilson, we are all going to die. What will it be like? Is there life after death? Is there a heaven? How does it feel to die? What happens at the moment of death? Some people believe that the spirit leaves the body on a voyage into the unknown. But where does the spirit go? Until now, no one really knew. Death has always been the final mystery.
So yeah, as an impressionable,
wow, I'm creeped out.
Yeah, as an impressionable young child, I was subjected to this, and so this was classified as a speculation film. So it was not really a documentary. It was sort of like these little vignettes, these little very cheaply made dramatizations of so-called true stories of life after death encounters. The most traumatizing of these for me was the story of this woman who found out her husband was cheating on her and basically drove off a cliff in an attempt at suicide. And while she was clinically dead, she found herself in a very low-budget version of hell with a lot of poorly lit extras writhing in pain. This was, needless to say, as a G-rated movie, and this was rated G. So I was able to just walk in, buy a ticket and walk in. Nobody said a thing. This, to me, was the ultimate nightmare fuel. You know, first of all, as you heard in that little clip, someday we are all going to die. What? Wait a minute. Nobody told me that. Nobody said that to me. This is news. You know, as a kid, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not. What? That happens? That happens to other people, not me. So, needless to say, I was freaked out quite a bit from this movie. It certainly kept me from complaining about going to church for a while. Yeah, I seriously, I did not want to end up in that bargain basement Hades for all eternity.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine an impressionable youth being told that, oh, when you die, you're going to go to this awful place. You're going to burn for eternity, and see you later. So that was not a whole lot of fun, and it really had an effect, not just as a kid, but for the rest of my life. So one of the things for years after that, for like 20 years after that, I tried to track down a copy of this. I would tell people about this movie, and they'd be like, "No, you dreamt that. It was a fever dream or something. You made it up," because it had never been released on home video ever, and it still hasn't to this day.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So 2 decades after I saw it, I was able to get a copy of a copy of a copy on eBay, on VHS of all things. That actually started me down a path to find out more about the movie and the company that made it, and a bunch of other sort of these pseudo documentaries. But
do you have a VCR?
Oh, this was when I did have a VCR. I still have the tape, but I no longer have a VCR. But I kept the tape. So last year, I wrote a lengthy article on that movie and the company that made it for the magazine I write for, Wang's Chop. So it sort of culminated in me writing this article and having it published. So that was kind of like, I felt like I went full circle with that. So it was a good kind of closure for me on this, because I wanted to share my knowledge of this that I've been pulling together for like 20 years and just sort of get it out there. So it really was, I mean, from the time I was 10 years old to now, that's like a 40-year span. And I just, it felt really good for me to get that sort of exercise, exorcise that from me. So yeah, so that was very interesting to me, and it, like I said, it had a huge impact on my life and in some ways my career as well. So there you go.
Wow.
Now let's talk about this, because I said that it's not available. Despite that, which is interesting, it actually does have a score on the Internet Movie Database. There's only 146 reviewers, which is very slim. But for that, it's got a 4.6 out of 10, which is not great. I'm not surprised. It's pretty obscure. It is not available on iTunes or Amazon Prime Video or even Tubi, where many films go to die. I don't know if you, if you've searched through Tubi, they've got a lot of movies, and most of them
they do.
Junk. Seriously, junk. I have taken, and this is just a little bit of an aside, I have discovered a new favorite pastime, and that is going on to Tubi, right? And going to the search and searching by year. So I will put in 1980 and see what films they have from 1980. I'll just pick one and watch it.
I bet you that turns up some really weird things.
Oh, it does. And it's easier than trying to search for a title, because I don't know what I want to watch. So instead, I'll just look for a year and see what comes up. And it's I've done it with Amazon Prime. I've done it with Tubi. I've done it with some other services as well. You'd be surprised. It's a great way to kind of narrow down a search and find some pretty interesting things. So give that a shot if you feel up to it. It's pretty cool.
All right, not bad.
Where I did find this film, Beyond and Back.
Is it legal?
You know what? As far as I can tell, and I've done the research on this for when I did the magazine article, these things these all seem to be in the public domain. They seem to be. I'm not positive, but it seems that's the case. At least no one seems to claim ownership of these movies. So yeah, it's on YouTube for free right now as of this recording. So if you are at all interested in what you heard and what I'm talking about, and you kind of want to see this bizarre piece of 70s documentary claptrap, give it a try, because it's, like I said, it's super cheap, but it's also kind of mesmerizing in its own way. And it's something that I will never ever forget watching. Fun fact. An even more obscure sequel was released the following year, called Beyond Death's Door, which I have not seen. Okay. So there you go. They even made I think what that sequel was, I think they just bought somebody else's film that had a similar style and subject matter, and just like threw a different name on it. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, so there's wow, that was an obscure pick. Kudos. Yes, it was, and one that has literally haunted me for much of my life. So there you go. Oh, all right. This was hard for me in the sense that I wanted to make sure everything I said was meaningful, and that, even if it didn't, resonate with anybody or any of our listeners, that it was genuine and true for me. So you're not going to be surprised at all by my first pick. It is 100% not obscure, because I believe everybody in my generation has seen it and forced their parents to watch it multiple times. But my film is the 1988 classic, The Land Before the Time. I knew you were going to... The Land Before Time. I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. Oh, gosh. I think there are more Land Before Time films than there are James Bond movies, I'm pretty sure. Well, funny, there are 14. Yeah, there you go. There are 14, and the most recent one came out, believe it or not, about 5 years ago. And they're still going. There's still more in production, which blows my mind. But I'm talking about the first, the most amazing, the most brilliant, the original, the OG, the Don Bluth amazing picture, The Land Before Time. Now, this, of course, I think being that I was only a couple years old by this point, it probably is the first memory I have of loving dinosaurs, loving, larger creatures, loving animals in general, but in particular, really, really loving what I used to call, according to my parents, Dinah Dune Dunes. What? Oh my gosh. If my mother listened to the podcast, she'd be so proud of me for actually saying this, but it is truth. I would call dinosaurs Dinah Dune Dunes until about 7. Okay. Oh boy. Anyways, okay. If you have not, and I don't know how you've missed it, but if you have missed The Land Before Time,
This is a children's animated feature by the Don Bluth Company. He makes, by the way, tearjerker movies, and this one is no different.
Oh, yeah.
About a band of friends who happen to be all different dinosaurs. So we've got Littlefoot, who is, he's either a brachiosaurus or an apatosaurus. I'm not quite sure. You've got Sarah,
he's an apatosaurus. He's an apatosaurus. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We've got Spike, who's a stegosaurus. We've got Petrie, who's a pteranodon, who's not even technically a dinosaur. Sarah is a triceratops. We've got Ducky, who's a Saurolophus, I think. I can't remember if, I think that's what she is.
Yeah.
But anyways, they're these little band of friends who don't necessarily come together in the easiest manner, but essentially the film opens up with, all of the major dinosaur herds, including, although you don't find out till later, but carnivores are migrating because they are finding that the land is drying up. There is no food, especially for the quote long necks, which is what Littlefoot and his family are. They can't reach up. They can't find any trees or any leaf, any like really nice veg to eat because the land is kind of being eaten up, right? So, of course, the underlying and I only know this as an adult theme there is that the idea is that the dinosaurs are coming to that age where they'll soon be extinct, right? So, like, not to be all weird and political and scientific. There you go.
Yeah.
The Earth has gone through many iterations of, ice age to heat age, I guess you could call it, global warming, and sort of on and on and on. But there's like this idea or this theory that like the Earth was like super dry and like super hot and warm, like right before or like an age before the meteor hit. So this is like, the sort of the dinosaurs on the last leg. Now, I didn't really get that feeling as a child, and I don't think any child will. They just see these dinosaurs, they're adventuring, they're finding all new cool places to explore, and they're making friends along the way. Now, there's a giant earthquake that happens, and Littlefoot gets separated from his family. So his grandparents, his grandpa and his grandma, Longneck, go one way, and then him and his mom have to go another way. And the goal here is to find the, quote, Great Valley. So the Great Valley, apparently, and supposedly, because no one really knows, is this very verdant, it's lush, it's got so many trees, food for every single type of dinosaur, for everyone to live harmoniously. Now, of course, you can also draw from this, hey, there's all these different types of people and different types of dinosaurs. Why can't we all just kind of live in one place and be happy, right?
Right.
Because, of course, these are all, I should mention, if not straight up vegetarians, they may be some like omnivores, but they're not the carnivores because they're the bad guys, right?
Right.
One of the, and I'm not spoiling it because it's been out for, 32 years. One of the saddest moments I think I have ever, oh, there's my husband calling. I'm going to have to decline on him. Sorry.
Sorry, Wayne.
Whoops. The saddest moments, I think, in any film history, and something that has literally brought me to tears, even as a 30-something-year-old, is when Littlefoot and his mom are attacked by a T-Rex or a sharp tooth. And in order to protect her son, his mom, Littlefoot's mom, sacrifices herself and she dies. And it is the most, even for a small child, the music changes, the color palette changes. It is just sadness. And it is like, you don't understand, but like, I think that's probably one of my first introductions, without even my parents or anybody meaning to, with the idea that somebody could leave you. Like your parents could leave, they could die. And to this day, it is still so hard for me to watch that scene in the movie because even though I know it's coming, it just hits my heart so bad. One of the most beautiful things about it, though, is that all the different names for very common things, so Littlefoot, right? He's a long neck, and a T-Rex is a sharp tooth. Well, leaves are called tree stars, and they're the shape of like little stars. But one of his most important things is that Littlefoot's mom gives him a tree star. She's like, hey, I'm not going to eat, but here's food for you. Yeah. And he carries it around with him throughout the entire film. And it has been on my bucket list legitimately to get a tattoo of a tree star.
Aww.
And I've just never had the time. But like, yeah, this film, oh man, I can't explain to the fullest extent what this film has done for me in the sense that I've kept its meanings, its feelings and emotions have traveled with me and they've grown with me as an adult. One very like really, really, what's the word for like real? But like a very prominent memory in my childhood is I remember my mom, she wanted to get pizza one night and my dad's like, yeah, sure, I'm not going to cook. She's not going to cook. Let's go to Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut, in conjunction with the movie release, they were selling these tiny little figurines of each of the main characters. And I think you could get them for like, I don't know, $5 or something when you ordered a large pizza.
In the new movie, The Land Before Time, Littlefoot, Sarah, Ducky, and Spike share an incredible journey. Along the way, they become best friends.
Now we'll always be together.
And now these lovable characters can be your child's friends too. With a pizza from Pizza Hut, a Land Before Time dinosaur is only 99 cents. So come to Pizza Hut. Your friends are waiting.
We'll always be together. Pizza Hut! Make it great!
And I remember like crying because I couldn't get the Littlefoot figurine, and my dad and my mom tried for like literally a month straight, and they would call Pizza Hut and they would say, hey, do you have Littlefoot in stock? And they would say, no, we don't have it. It wasn't until maybe about 5 years ago, I was searching one of these like apps you have on the App Store for selling things. I think it was called Mercari, and I found someone selling them. And I ran out of my bedroom. I went to my husband and said, hey, do you mind if I spend $50 on these little vinyl toys that are probably made of harmful plastic, but that I'm just going to put on the shelf anyways? So yeah.
Wow.
I ended up getting them, but it's one of those things where like I look at them and it fills me with so much happiness. So The Land Before Time, like I said, and we kind of joked about, has spun off 13 other iterations of this movie, none of which, in my opinion, are super awesome. But you know, it's got a long and lengthy history behind it. It also has, in my opinion, pretty low scores. So The Land Before Time on IMDb gets a 7.5. Yeah. It is over like 80,000 votes, so I guess it's not too bad. Yeah. Metacritic gives it a 66. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 70%, but the audience score gives it closer to an 80. So I think it resonates with people who watched it as a kid. And the beautiful thing is that right now you can watch this film in quite a few places, including Stars for free if you have the application of the account, DirecTV. It sometimes is available on Vudu and Tubi rather. But I would say your best bet is to go ahead and just purchase this film so you have it forever. Especially the new sort of high def version that they put out maybe about 10 years ago. It's right now available on Apple TV for $14.99, Google Play for $14.99. I think you might be able to get a little bit cheaper on Amazon. But it's just so worth keeping in your movie repertoire, because imagine some movie, right? Or something that literally dictates how you view things later on, 30 plus years later. I mean, it literally, I'm still fascinated by dinosaurs now. I still want to become like a paleontologist. You know what I mean? Like it literally shaped my young brain, as it were. So, and the one thing that I thought was like super cool, and I swear I'm almost done talking about, but on eBay right now, you can get a 1994 VHS tape that McDonald's, in partnership with Jurassic Park, offered when you bought Happy Meals. Wow. And so if you bought this movie, this VHS tape, you got $2.50 off in a mail-in rebate when you bought Jurassic Park on VHS.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So yeah, this is just amazing. And I actually might I've just clicked buy it now. I hope my husband doesn't listen to this episode. But anyways, that's my first pick.
All right. So I have to ask you, did you ever watch the TV series?
I saw maybe like 2 or 3 episodes. It wasn't necessarily something that I liked, but it was kind of like, oh, cool, Littlefoot. But it's one of those things too. Nothing beats the original, so it's hard for me to say, oh, hey, let me like everything. It's not like, for example, with Jurassic Park, let's say, where the original one obviously is the best, but I like and really like the other version or the other sequels and whatnot. Mm-hmm. With this one, I didn't necessarily feel that. I felt like nothing could top the original. So in my mind, yeah, cool, they exist, but they only exist in the realm to showcase just how insanely popular more than me think it is. Do you know what I mean? Like how it meant to so many other people. So yeah.
And it also makes a great pick, by the way. It also makes a great double feature with An American Tail made by the same people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Where they have to find the golden eagle, right?
Oh, it's so good. So good.
You know, that bird doesn't exist anywhere in there, but yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's awesome. That's the first pick.
Very cool. Very cool. So
you're not surprised at all.
Oh God, no. I'm nonplussed, as they say. Oh my.
Hit me with your second pick.
All right. Now, if you're a regular listener, and I certainly hope that's the case, you may or may not have noticed that our list of episodes begins at episode 2, not 1.
That fateful day.
You may ask yourself, why is this the case? So it's not, and I'm going to clear the air here. It is not because of the content.
No, it is not.
It was a solid first episode, but the sound quality was so bad.
Oh.
Yeah, because we didn't have any proper microphones or any equipment to record on it. And we made the unwise decision to record inside a Panera Bread.
Yeah, we tried to do this whole thing like, oh yeah, we're in the mess hall. We're two buddies talking about film. And meanwhile, there's some grandma yelling at her grandson to eat his food properly. Yeah,
best laid plans and all that. It just
it
didn't work out that well, so we decided to kind of turn it around, and we held on to the crazy kind of storyline that we were stuck in, in underwater for a while, but that seemed a little forced, and I don't think nobody was buying that, so we just decided to heck with it and just be our usual normal weird selves.
My first pick for that episode, what was it? Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, I think?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh man, I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
It was so good.
And I am, even now, because when we record this, it's just the second day of August. I am so looking forward to doing another horror month in October.
Yes. Oh, one of the biggest things, comments I got from people was that they were excited that we had 4 weeks and that we had a different theme each week.
Yes. So
I think that we should continue this tradition.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that's a great thing. I mean, we had so much fun doing those episodes.
Oh, we did. They were so fun.
So stay tuned. October is going to be another, we're going to announce it here, another horror month. We don't know what the themes are yet, but we'll get to work on that.
We'll figure it out. There's pretty much an endless option of that.
Yes, I'm pretty sure one of them will be some sort of pandemic horror film week.
Oh man,
seems highly appropriate. So I'm mentioning our first episode because I'm going to tell a story that I told during that show. I'm going to repeat this, but you've never heard it if you're listening, so I'm not really repeating it, am I? So let's set the Wayback Machine to 1987. I was in college in southern New Jersey. I was going to meet 2 of my friends at a movie theater to see Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise. This was before I developed any discerning taste in movies. Mm-hmm. These 2 friends of mine, they had a band together. They had a band called Griffin, like the mythological creature.
All right.
This may seem like a small detail, but musicians are notoriously late for things, so it made sense that they were over an hour late meeting me at the theater, which I was not happy about.
Yeah.
By the time they got there was only one movie left that hadn't yet started, and it was some dumb-sounding horror movie called Evil Dead 2. Well, I was determined to see a movie after waiting so long, so we bought our tickets and sat down. We had no idea what we were in for. I had never heard of this movie, I had no idea what to expect, and was at least hoping for 90 minutes of diversion while making fun of a bad horror movie. Well, I was both wrong and completely blown away. Evil Dead 2 turned out to be one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life. It is a gory, bloody, breathless horror movie genetically spliced with Three Stooges comedies and Looney Tunes cartoons. It essentially invented a new genre of movie, and that is slapstick horror.
4 years ago, in this quiet forest, in this cozy cabin, something happened. Something so frightening. Something so deadly. Something so evil. We prayed it would never happen again. Now, from the creator of Evil Dead comes Evil Dead 2.
All right, so, I mean, here's the thing about Evil Dead 2. First of all, it is not really a sequel to the original movie, The Evil Dead, which was an even lower budget horror film. It's more of a remake of the first one, but with more money. So calling it Evil Dead 2 was a bit of a misnomer. I don't know why they decided to do that and just calling it something else. But essentially you have this hapless protagonist played by the incredible Bruce Campbell. And during this movie, he is mentally and physically tortured by an ancient demonic presence while he's trapped in a cabin in the woods. And that doesn't do the film justice in any way. It is a non-stop showcase of inventive special effects. It has dark as coal humor and incredible camera work by future star director Sam Raimi, who of course went on to do a lot of fantastic movies and is even just announced he's directing the second Doctor Strange movie.
Oh, no kidding.
Which is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I left that theater wondering who the hell made this crazy thing and how did it get into theaters in the first place? I wanted to know how this thing ever got where it got. And that led me down a path that ultimately introduced me to a whole new world of cinema that I never knew existed, and ultimately allowed me to use my phony baloney college degree to do some actual entertainment journalism. That was, it was a real eye-opener for me, and it sent me down this rabbit hole. And on the other side, I found all of these great little independent movies, exploitation movies, just weird stuff that I started digging and just became more into this sort of like unknown cinema that just would not normally make it into theaters. And, you would go to you would go back in the day, you'd go to the video store and you would see shelf after shelf after shelf of stuff you'd never heard of. It's like, what is this movie? I mean, it may have a really cool looking cover, but you knew that was probably going to be awful. And that's what I wanted to see. It was like, oh, this got to be terrible. I'm going to watch this. And that's what got me started on loving those kinds of movies. And Evil Dead 2, I have to thank Evil Dead 2 for getting me started on that. In fact, a couple of years later, it was actually only like about 3 or 4 years later, I got to tell this story to both Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell.
Wow!
At a press event that I was at. They were both incredibly gracious, and Sam Raimi seemed genuinely gratified that his movie had such an impact on me. So that was a cool moment for me. I got them both to sign some autographs, and still have them. And it's just, it was a big deal for me at the time. And looking back on it, it was a really cool time. So yeah, another movie that had an unexpected impact on my life. Now, if you haven't seen Evil Dead 2, you are missing out. So it has a 7.8 out of 10 on the Internet Movie Database and an amazing 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is outrageous. And it's available everywhere. You can see it on iTunes, on Amazon Prime Video, in YouTube. It's about $4 to rent. So, and don't be put off by the violence or the gore, because it's all very cartoonish. It's not in any way like realistic. It's so over the top and so crazy that after a while it just becomes like a cartoon.
Right.
So don't like feel like you're going to get, and there's some scary moments too. I'm not going to lie. There's some gruesome stuff in there, but if you take it in the spirit in which is intended, which is to have fun and to have like a roller coaster ride, then I think you will enjoy it quite a bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
That makes me feel like I got a little, how should I say this? I got a little mentally teary-eyed. Because I, of course, didn't really.
No,
but like, I thought, yeah. But I was like, that's really touching.
It's cutting up
that's
mental
really
onions.
Nice.
That's what you're doing. Cutting up the mental onions.
Oh, Lord. Okay. So my good pick, by the way.
Thank you.
My second pick is really funny because I feel like this is one of the first, if not the first time, I have come super full circle with one of my picks. Now, if you remember, and I'm sure you do, but earlier this week, we released our latest microcast,
yes,
which is the history of summer blockbusters.
Yes,
fantastic episode, by the way.
Thank you.
And it's pretty funny because it coincides with my pick.
Oh.
It also coincides because, as we've talked about for the last 4 months, we are stuck inside. So the things that we normally get to do aren't necessarily available to us right now.
Exactly.
Coming from the beautiful area of the country that we are, which is New England,
yep.
I know you didn't grow up here, so it might not resonate so much with you, but I think it will.
Okay.
Me, as a New Englander, I can tell you that my fondest memories as a child, as a young adult, even as an adult, have all typically been surrounded by the beach.
Aha.
Going to the beach, swimming at the beach, getting excruciatingly painful sunburns because I didn't listen to my parents and put sunscreen on, eating really bad food, but that it was so bad that it was good kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Having beach pizza. Now, if you don't live in New England, there's this thing that we call beach pizza. There's a huge argument between who has the best pizza. Is it Tripoli's or is it Christie's?
Oh,
personally,
no,
I say...
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's Tripoli. I mean, there's no doubt.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That square slice of pizza with that sweet sauce, and if you get extra cheese and the provolone on it,
oh, yeah,
my Lord, it is amazing.
It is.
But it's kind of one of those things that you really can't find outside New England, and it's such a beachy thing to do. So, anyways, my life is like, it's just a lot of my memories come from the beach, and I love being in the beach. My parents used to tell me that I was part fish because I would stay in the water for hours on end, to the point where they would have to call me to remind me to come eat, to remind me to reapply sunscreen, and to actually try and play with my little brother because I was avoiding him by being in the water. Mm-hmm. Anyways, my second pick is not obscure in the slightest, but it is a movie that I legitimately credit for my fascination, as an adult at least, with the ocean.
Okay.
I, of course, am talking about the 1975 little-known feature called Jaws.
Jaws, which of course we did talk about in the previous microcast. Yes, indeed, big movie.
Is the first summer blockbuster. This is the movie that set it set the scene for anybody who wanted to make those big, in-your-face, exciting, exhilarating movies that only came out in the summer, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I, of course, did not see it in its beginning, right? Because it was in the 70s and I wasn't alive then.
Yes.
But I have heard this story from my parents for, I don't even know, maybe 25 plus years now, how when they saw it, they were literally terrified, deathly terrified to go swimming in the ocean for about 10 years. It wasn't until I came along, they were like, hey, let's let her experience the water and at the beach. That was one of the first times they actually went back, because this movie terrified them so much. Now, what's interesting, I think, about Jaws is that there's kind of two sides of this, right? There's the fandom side that everybody in the world knows what Jaws is. If you haven't seen the movie, even if you haven't seen the iconic poster, all you have to say is Jaws and people know automatically that's about a shark, right? And then there's the other side who are the people who believe that Jaws did not actually do something great for the actual species of shark, right? So some people on that side would say, hey, it basically demonized these animals who in most cases don't necessarily go hunting for humans. And it made the idea of these giant, like just over the top, like monstrous creatures have this like, it personified them as human killing machines, right?
Right.
So, okay, basic plot here. The movie opens up, there's a woman swimming, and all of a sudden, I'm drowning, and nobody knows what happens, right? But then there's like blood and stuff. Enter in on a very cozy New England beach called Amity Island. The new sheriff in town, or chief, as it were, Chief Brody, comes over with his family, and he's like, I'm the chief here. I'm from, another place, and I think it's New York he's from. I'm going to make this a great place to be, and I'm going to put my foot down and all this stuff. So cool, whatever. He doesn't necessarily realize that in New England, there's a type of people, and I think that this place, and I know that it was filmed on Martha's Vineyard,
yes, it was, yes.
on the Cape, yeah. And if I had a lot of friends growing up that because I kind of grew up in a more affluent town. Not to say that I was, but my friend, a good friend of mine, Joe, he still actually has a home on Martha's Vineyard on Katama Island, actually. And there's, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but there's a type of person who lives on the Cape,
Oh yeah.
And and this movie did not shy away from introducing that type of person as characters in the film. So Brody comes along and he meets these very like, I don't know, snobbish, very like upper class, I'm wealthy because I have a house on the Cape type of person, and they don't mesh very well. And then all of a sudden, the beaches are packed. People are swimming and having a great time. They are not socially distancing.
Well.
And a little boy, goes missing. And there's that amazing soundtrack, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's all you can do.
That's all you hear. That's all you, exactly, right? That's all you hear. And all of a sudden there's blood in the water and people are screaming. And now Chief Brody knows that there's something there. And then he gets hooked up with this guy named Quint, and Quint is like a kind of a weirdo.
Yeah.
And he has like a lot of stories, and it's all this craziness. So basically, you're led to believe in this 1970s fashion that this shark has somewhat of an agenda to kill these people. And I don't necessarily know why, like what it drew that, this shark, Bruce, as it were, to them, but whatever, nonetheless it did. And it involves, a giant explosion scene, this tiny little boat, which of course is that famous quote, I think we're going to need a bigger boat, because this shark animatronic was, huge. I can't remember who recently, but some celebrity bought the actual, like one of the offcasts of the animatronic that they used for Bruce in the original film, and he restored it. And it's like now in his home, like museum. I don't know if it was not Benicio del Toro, Guillermo del Toro. I don't know, but it was somebody like that. So, and then the film ends with like, they're kind of victorious because the shark is quote gone,
right?
But not really, and it sets it up for 2 or 3 really bad sequels.
Yeah, they were different sharks, but seriously.
Well, okay, funny. There is a Jaws wiki, like a fandom page, and it turns out this was a whole family of sharks.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised.
Bruce and his wife, and then his kids, and just whatever. So, okay, why does this mean a lot to me? Well, I think, and it has to do, I think, with my love of like animals in general. Sharks were kind of like that closest thing I could get to like a dinosaur. They were mean, they were huge, they had huge teeth, and they were terrifying, and they were alive, like now.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things too where like, my brothers tried to frighten me and tell me stories about like how, because everyone just called it Jaws, right? Like not knowing that his name was Bruce, but like, oh, Jaws is going to come get you. Jaws is going to pop up and come get you. And we always used to play like, tempt Jaws and go into the ocean and then pretend to be a shark. And I just have so many memories of that movie popping up every single time we went to the beach. Now, the beaches in Martha's Vineyard and the Cape and, the surrounding islands are just, I think they're really unique. I think they have a different type of feel than beaches like, say, down in Virginia or even Florida. Florida, you've got these palm trees and it's so hot. You've got iguanas everywhere. Virginia, you've got kind of like these old houses, and then you see like nods to like Roanoke and that kind of thing. But in New England, it's just the water's always cold. Right?
Yeah.
The beaches are always gritty. There's always flies, but it's just something about it that just draws you home. So I remember the first time I went to England, and I was there for about 3 months. I stayed on a touristy visa while my husband and I were still dating. And then we went to one of the beaches there because, of course, in that country, you're never more than a few hours from the coast. And we went to a beach, and it was just like rocks, and it was dark, and it was like, I was like, this is not a beach. This is not the beach. And yeah, so I think right now what I'm going through in this present moment is just the longing to be at the beach, the familiarity that I would get from going to like the Cape or Nantucket or whatever. But knowing that it's just probably not the safest thing right now, because I don't necessarily know how well you can socially distance in the water, let alone on the beach. And then wearing a mask while it's hot and sandy out, it's not conducive to a good time, at least in my opinion. So there's that longing for the beach. And I watched Jaws the other night, actually, because it's pretty much everywhere right now. Like is every single year.
Well, Shark Week.
All of these, yeah, exactly. All of these streaming platforms will inevitably put some form of Jaws on, whether it's the original or the really bad sequels, or, I mean, last year, Netflix did Jaws 3. Just a 3D one. Oh, God. That was so funny. But right now, I was watching it on HBO Go because it's still around. I don't know what's going on with HBO Now and HBO Go.
I think they're getting merged into HBO Max.
So that's I don't know. But I have the HBO Now plus Amazon package. I love these things where you can combine multiple services and pay less. Because it does actually work out. I have like a Hulu and Spotify premium membership. I've got Amazon and Stars and HBO Now tied in. So it's really cool to think about doing that. Pro tip. But I watched it on HBO Now and I thought, wow, look at that beach. It's so clean. It's so like, you just look at a movie and you're like, wow, I know it's made in the 70s, but I believe that it is nice and warm and sunny. You know, when you look at a picture or something and you get that feeling like you know exactly what that's like. There was one scene where, they paint the sign and I remember thinking, well, the other day watching this, like, oh man, I bet you it's really warm. It's probably like 90 degrees, but it's like a hot, dry heat. And so I just basically love that movie for the reason that it reminds me of my home. And something I'm so proud of is to be from New England. And part of being New England, part of your identity, at least I think for most people, is the Cape, is the beaches, is the summers at the Cape and that kind of thing. So like I said, you can watch it on HBO Now. You can watch it on DirecTV. I think you can buy it in the usual places. There's this thing called FlixFling, which I haven't actually used before, but apparently it's an up and coming streaming services. They have it right now for rental. It's a big yellow app, and but you can create like a free account, and they've got some movies on there. Not anything like super amazing. Usually it's just the offcuts, right? But they've got a couple of like sequels and then sequels of sequels, that kind of thing. So you should check it out. But in terms of the ratings, I think that Jaws, being the first summer blockbuster ever, is probably one of the most popular films ever. For example, Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 98% with an audience score of 90%. IMDb gives it an 8.0 with nearly 600,000 votes.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Metacritic is an 87. So it's high up there. Now, it's funny for me because, of course, it's Steven Spielberg, right? And he directed also Jurassic Park.
Yes.
So it all sort of comes together. But I think there was this really funny little nod I had to the movie. So about 3 years ago, my husband and I and my little brother and his girlfriend, we were all at the beach, and I'm all like, let's go in the ocean, whatever. My husband's all like, not so much. I don't want to get eaten by a shark. And I was like, that's not going to happen because it's New England. Well, funny because great white sharks, they do like to come up to the coast in New England because we do, like I say, have those really cold waters from the north. And they come and they like to kind of, they roam around, right? And they scare people. Well, it happened to be that day we were in the water, and then all of a sudden you hear like screaming, but not screaming like terrified. Someone screaming like get out now, and come to the beach or whatever. And then there's like lifeguards running up and down the beach with their little whistles and stuff. And I'm like, I didn't know that Salisbury had like lifeguards. That's weird. So I'm in the ocean just like, I wonder what's going on. Not like maybe I should get out, but it turns out about, I think it was maybe, I don't even know, 40 feet away, something like that. And about 40 feet in, there was a great white just kind of around. Jeez. Yeah, like it was, I'm over here fascinated thinking that this is fun. It's really cool. And my husband's like, no, see, I told you we're going to get eaten on this damn beach. And so then after that, all you hear is people making Jaws jokes and people humming the theme tune to Jaws.
Boy.
It's just a memory I won't ever forget. So I've rambled on too much, but basically my second pick is Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg. Suddenly the most amazing movie I think I've ever probably watched, but it's got Roy Scheider in it, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss. That guy. Richard Dreyfuss is actually kind of not bad looking in this movie, which is weird for me to say now, but he kind of was. You can get it on quite a few places. I'm sure that you have seen it. But if you want to know, what it's like to be a New Englander in the summer, this is the movie to watch.
That is correct. And I have to make a confession of sorts. So number one, I do love the Cape. I love Cape Cod. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Jaws.
Yeah.
I hate the beach.
You don't like the beach?
Nope, I don't.
Well, here's the thing. Aren't you from Las Vegas?
Well, not originally.
You're from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of time in the Jersey Shore, which there was a beach there. So,
well, I was going to say, like, Pennsylvania is kind of more inland, and depending on where you're from Philly, right?
I'm from the Philly area originally.
So there wasn't necessarily too many beaches around Philly.
Yeah, but we spent summers in the Jersey Shore with the beach.
Right.
It was like right around the corner. So here's the thing. It's not... First of all, I hate sand.
It's the sand. It gets everywhere.
It gets everywhere. And I feel like every time I walk on sand, it's like I'm drunk.
Yeah,
I can't
it's
get
hard
my
for your balance.
And if it's hot, that's even worse. And it gets in everything. I don't.
Oh my gosh, it does. It gets in the food that you're eating.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And and like the first time I think I stepped on a broken seashell, I was done with it. Like, this is it. I'm done. No more beach for me. I'm a pool guy. So that's.
But what's better than going to the beach on a hot day, eating a really warm bologna and cheese sandwich with too much mayonnaise, and then realizing that you've got sand in it.
Literally
and you still eat it anyways.
Literally everything is better than that.
Oh man, but yeah, the Cape is a good place. I really, really want to visit the Cape, but I just again with COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll just journal about it and pretend like I was there.
Interestingly enough, in 2005, myself and a good friend of mine who is also a film critic, we went to the very first Jaws Fest in Martha's Vineyard that they held.
Ooh.
And it was great.
I have always wanted to do that.
It was fantastic. We had a great time. And
I don't think they do it anymore, but yeah.
They do it sporadically, I think, like for anniversaries and stuff. But we got to see, one of the replicas of the actual, animatronic shark, and a lot of props and things like that. And it was just a ton of fun. So yeah, me and Jaws go way back.
You know what's a fun fact about this movie? Guess the budget. Just throw a number out there.
I think it was like maybe like $4 million.
I think it's actually around 10. But the box office grossed almost $480 million.
Yeah, that's what made
it's one of the first movies.
Yeah, that's
the blockbuster exit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They were blown away at how much money. I mean, that's literally like, I don't even know how much percent more, but it's crazy. So that's my second pick. I'm sorry to go on such a rambling, but there's also one more fun fact I have to say about this.
Yeah.
Have you seen this little movie called Back to the Future?
I think I may
You've heard of it, right?
have at some point.
Yeah. No biggie. Turns out that there is a nod to Jaws in that movie.
The Jaws 19 joke.
Jaws 19, exactly. There's a little whole film playing in the theater. It says Jaws 19, and the movie trailer. I think they said something like, "This time it's really personal."
Yeah, and it's funny if you go on YouTube. There, Universal Pictures put out a trailer for Jaws 19.
Oh yes, that's true. I completely forgot about that.
It's really funny.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, so check that out. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, how Brody.
On the marquee in Back to the Future, it says it was directed by Max Spielberg, Steven Spielberg's son.
Yeah, like his dad just carried it on. Oh man, you know, so we've got some great picks. We've had some really, I think, meaningful picks.
Yeah, absolutely.
That maybe in your case a little bit more obscure, but definitely not on mine. But like that means something at least to us, and I think that was the point of this request. So thanks again, Stephanie. This was a really, really great episode, I think, and I'm really glad we got to do it.
Me too.
Do you have any mentions? Any honorable mentions?
Well, it's funny because most of the honorable mentions I have would be films that everybody has seen, like Star Wars, Ghostbusters, things like that. So any of those big, like Alien, all those movies that came out during like the late 70s and 80s, all of those, I saw pretty much everything. And it all sort of cumulatively, if I said that without sounding like I'm drunk, had an effect on me in one way or another. And all of them sort of grew my love of movies in some way. So yeah, I mean, just about all the big names I can recite. That would be my honorable mention. So yeah.
Well, see, your honorable mentions are more like actiony, not Final Fantasy, but fiction, that kind of thing. My honor picks are a little bit different. So I have 3 of them, and they're all films that I watch with my mother that have some sort of like tie of us watching that. One of them is Young Frankenstein, because I still laugh at that movie. Mel Brooks is beyond a comic genius. He is literally the top of everything for me, and he's such a cool guy. And then Backdraft. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's got Kurt Russell in it, Billy Baldwin. I think it's one of the only films he's ever been in, but it's about these firefighters, and it's like super dramatic, and it's kind of like a mystery to know what's going on. Saw that and cried at the end with my mother. And then the last one is Steel Magnolias. This is like,
boy, the tearjerker to end all tearjerkers.
It really is, and I think if you watch this film and you don't cry, there is something missing for you, and I want to know who hurt you. But yeah, that's my third honorable mention, because it's just one of those films I think everybody has to see once in their lifetime.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
I like it. I think this was
an episode of it was a really good episode, right? Like, this was an episode where we just kind of, it didn't matter if we rambled a little bit, because it was just, the whole point of it was just saying how much these things meant to you.
Yeah, and it only matters if we think so. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So we think it's a great episode, so don't, come at us.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, whatever. Maybe won't even read your suggestions anymore, or all your positive feedback.
No, let's not go there. Let's not go too far. Okay. No, we don't want to alienate the audience. We want to embrace them in a socially distant way.
Let me digitally embrace you.
Yes, let me digitally embrace you. Which sounds super creepy.
Yes, that's really creepy. Yeah.
Yes. But we do want to thank you for listening.
Absolutely. I hope that you're getting some entertainment and some joy value out of our episodes, because we do try to make them funny, because it is just us having fun. We're not being paid, which is for darn sure.
Yeah, you're not being paid.
Yeah, that's true. What?
Go on.
We're not being paid, and we really are doing this to kind of keep ourselves entertained, keep ourselves grounded. It's a difficult and different time for so many of us, if not all of us. And so if you're listening to our podcast, we thank you so much. And we hope that you don't stop. And we also hope that you don't report us.
No, not at all. But we also would like to use your ideas. So please, just like our friend Stephanie, send us suggestions. We would love to hear from you.
We would.
Absolutely.
You can find us on thedeepdivepodcast.com. You can find our email there, which is one of the best ways to reach us, or our Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. I got to be honest, though, our Instagram is pretty hopping. We like to release really cool decals before the show to kind of give you a little bit of hint about what's going on.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of friends on there. We're pretty active on there too, but if you want to email us, it's thedeepdivepodcast@gmail.com. We will respond even if it's just with a cease and desist letter, but we will respond.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our lawyers are, we have them on speed dial for this kind of thing.
Yeah, 1-800-lawyers.com. That's where we got.
That's basically it. Yeah. So
this is probably our first, I think it's our first episode kind of like the big summertime. We'll probably have a couple more.
Yeah.
But I hope everyone out there is happy and healthy and that you're staying safe, you're staying indoors. And if you're not staying indoors, that you're wearing a mask, because what's more patriotic than wearing a mask and protecting your fellow human being? Exactly.
That's right. I can hear the fireworks now. Very patriotic thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
So, the next deep dive microcast looks at something very special. So here is a hint. What is the most successful movie franchise of the past 15 years? And I'm speaking in a very broad sense here.
Like maybe Lord of the Rings?
Not the last 15 years, I would say. I would give you, let's see. It has to do with
like the Marvel franchise.
Yeah, so there you go, the Marvel franchise. So
gotcha.
We are going to look at what Marvel movies were like before the Marvel Cinematic Universe started with Iron Man. Here's a hint: most of them were bad, very, very bad. So we're going to take a look at some of those and the story behind some of those awful sort of early Marvel movies next on the microcast.
When Captain America wasn't Captain America.
Oh, no.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, when he had a motorcycle helmet on and a clear plastic shield. Not good.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna find out some interesting little details about those movies as well. All right.
Our microcasts are pretty awesome. You should check them out. They're short.
Which one?
They're funny. They're entertaining. I was going to say our microcast.
Oh.
If you love this, and we know everyone does love this.
Yes, of course you do.
If you want a small little taste of what these are like, then listen to our microcasts. They come out every other week, so they're basically on the off week of the show. They're 10 to 15 minutes long. They're perfect if you're just taking a quick drive to Dunkin's to get your iced latte with caramel swirl.
It's like a snack. It's a snack.
It's a snack.
It's a little snack.
It's juicy fruit in your lunchbox.
Right, it's a pas d'oeuvre, as it were.
Oh, okay, we've had enough.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're rambling now. So that will be it for this edition of the Deep Dive Podcast. On behalf of the amazing Mandalorian and myself, Tom Feeney, please stay healthy.
See ya.
Bye. You can find links to our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram feeds on our website, thedeepdivepodcast.com. If you like us, please subscribe. All clips are intended for educational use only and not to infringe on existing copyrights. Our theme music was produced by Ryan Blaney and EchoCraft. Thanks for listening. The Deep Dive Podcast is a production of Automaton Media.